Bass Case Season 2, Episode 33, Practicing Foundations, Part 1. I'm starting this series on practicing foundations because it keeps coming up with my studio bass players. I mean, these are students who are good players but still new to music school ways, and they need direction in their practicing, amongst other things. I was working with one of the bassists on his orchestra material, and we took it down to 60 on the metronome. And we worked out fingerings and shifts on the double bass over Dvorak's Sixth Symphony. And I left it at 60. And he asked, can we raise the tempo? And I said, no, we're working things out. When you have them worked out, likely later in your personal practice, double the tempo. If you practice it correctly at 60, note when I say correctly, it means you've worked out the fingerings, the bowings and shifts, whatever you can play it down at 60. It will likely be there at 120. Slow is good. Slower is even better. Anyway, I have an episode on 60 from over a year ago. Check it out. But the other practice foundation that I came up with is the sequence of keys we should practice in. You know, we should always be practicing in all 12 keys. Scales, licks, melodies, lines, arpeggios, scale fragments. Jazz players are taught to work things out in fourths. So working out major scales, for instance, through the jazz cycle, as they called it when I was in school, I would start with C and then proceed to F, then B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, and so on and so forth. And it's effective. There's no complaints against fourths because fourths are natural to the ear because most progressions move in fourths. A 2-5-1 moves in fourths. C minor to F7 to B flat major, that's moving in fourths. The tune Autumn Leaves, it's totally in fourths. Blue bossa's in fourths. A blues utilizes fourths. Pop tunes, church stuff, contemporary Christian music, fourths. So it makes sense to me orally, using my ears to move scales, arpeggios, licks, etc. in fourths. And it trains your ear to hear fourths, and it's highly effective. And it also takes you through well-used keys this way. So if I'm starting at C, then I go to F, which is, I can't think of how many tunes that are in F. And then you go to B flat, then you go to E flat, and those are particular favorites of jazz standards. But move it around. In my studio, the bassists have the scale of the month. And this year, starting in January, I started going through fifths. A lot of classical instructors use fifths. They're highly effective too. You start with C, then you go G, D, A, E, B, and so on. It makes you go through the sharp keys first. It's good for you. Makes your ear think differently too. You're going through fifths instead of fourths. That's fine. Do that. Chromatically, I like this. I use this when I'm warming up, especially on electric bass. Chromatically ascending. So I go C, D flat, D, E flat, E, F, G flat, G, and so on. It phases you in and out of keys that you favor or your instrument favors, and through keys you might try to avoid, but it does so in a hopscotch fashion. You start with a familiar key, C, and then you go to D flat, not a real bass-friendly key. And then you go to D, which feels a lot better. E flat, not a bad key for bass players. E, F, you start moving through, and then you get to like G flat, not so friendly, right? Chromatic descending. Now this really makes you really think about it. Think about it. C again, good key for bass players. B major, okay. B flat major, familiar territory for basses. A major, I'm just going down chromatically. A major, not a bad key for basses. A flat major, not a favorite for bass players. G major, good key. I would call it an open string city. Yet another way, right? One more. Random roots. Antoine Schwartz was promoting this. He's a tenor saxophonist from the West Coast. He created a sheet for it that I ran into. It really plays with the ears, but it makes you think. If you can't find Anton's sheet online, email me. And the key to this is that you want to hit all keys. So I think he starts with C and then F, which makes sense. And then he goes to B natural. And the keys are randomized all over the sheet. So you do one line of them like that. This is very effective too. All the methods are in one way or the other. But it's a good way to nail down and structure your practicing because we want to play in all keys. In one method or the other, or at some point in all. If you have questions, email me at phil@basscase.co. I'll talk to you soon.